Okay, let's read and annotate. Table below represents the pages Javier has read in his book. He reads the same number every day. That's them telling us this is a constant rate of change, okay? How many pages will he have read by the end of his 12th day? How many pages? And then how are you able to determine on day 20? Okay, so day 20 is not in the chart. They want us to figure it out. So pick your points. It does not matter which 2 points you pick. If you like certain numbers, pick those. I'm going to pick the first 2 because those numbers are the smallest. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. I'm going to tell myself what the slope formula is. I want you to do this every single time until you know it like you know your name. So plugging in my numbers, my Y2 is 135. My Y1 is 105. My X2 is 7. My X1 is 5. When I subtract, I get 30 over 2. I do not need this to be a 2. I don't want to know what he reads every 2 days. I want to know what he reads every just 1 day. So I'm going to divide this by 2 over 2, and I get 15 over 1. Now it's a slope. Now it's a unit rate. 15 what? 15 pages. That's my Y, right? Y stands for pages. 1 what? 1 day. So every day he's reading 15 pages, okay? And he started at 0. So how do I figure out where he'll be on day 20? I can just do 15 times 20. Because each day he reads, I can do 15 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15, right? But we know that's just multiplication. So 15 times 20, 15 times 2 is 30. Add the extra 0. He will have read 300 pages. So answer the question in a sentence. What's it say? How many pages will he have read? Javier will have read 300 pages on day 20. And then it says, how were you able to determine this? So I multiplied 15 by 20 to determine the number of pages, right? I took my rate of what he reads for 1 day and I multiplied it by 20. That is it. All right, so this practice problem, let's see what they want us to do. They're telling us the rate of change is 6, okay? We don't have to figure it out. They're telling us. But they want us to complete the table now, given that information. So what does that mean? That means I'm adding 6 for each term. But term 1 doesn't have 6 in it because 6 plus 6 is not 8. So I know starting from 8, I can just add 6 for the next 2. So 8 plus 6 is 14. And 14 plus 6 is 20. So to get the first term, we're just going to subtract 6. So 8 minus 6 is 2. All right, so the next part of the question says, is it possible to determine the number of blocks for the 200th term in this pattern? Absolutely, it is possible. The difficult way is you would just have to keep adding 6 until you got to the 200th term, because here's what this pattern looks like, right? We started with 2, and then we added 6, and then we added 6 more, and so we just have to keep adding 6 until we got to 200 terms. That would take forever. There is a way to do it algebraically. It's not a regular equation, but for those of you like me who are just dying to know, you the equation is this. It's going to look weird. What? So N is the 200th term. We're trying to find the 200th term. A is what we start with. N, again, is the 200th term, and we subtract 1 from that. And then we multiply it by our rate of change, which is 6. So if you want to know how many terms are in, or how many blocks are in the 200th term, go ahead and multiply this out. It's a pretty big number. But for the sake of us, we're just going to say, yes, you can figure it out. You'd have to keep adding 6 until you got to the 200th term. Because we're not going to learn these kinds of formulas until a few years from now. So it's weird that they put this problem in here, but still fun to figure out if you want to know. That's how you figure it out. We have one more. I know I said that already, but I think there's just one more. Okay, I promise this is the last one I checked. So let's read and annotate. Antoine is driving. She's traveling at a constant rate. They're telling you there is a rate of change. We can find it. After 2 hours, she's 128 miles away. That's your first order pair. After 5 hours, she's 314 miles from Buffalo. Determine the rate that she was driving and explain your reasoning. So let's just set up a table. We just need a T table. We can just call this good old X and Y. They gave us 2 ordered pairs. The first one was 2 and 128, and the second one was 5 and 314. Slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Plug it in. Oh, first of all, label it x1, y1, x2, y2. y2 is 314, y1 is 128. x2 is 5, x1 is 2. When I subtract that, I get 186 over 3. 186 what? Miles over 3 what? Hours. This is not the rate of change that I want. I'm going to see, does 3 go into this? Yes, it does. How did I figure that out? 6 plus 8 is 14. 14 plus 1 is 15. Since 3 goes into 15, 3 will go into that number. Divisibility rules help us out real quick. So I'm going to get 62 over 1. So her rate of change is 62 miles per hour. And then it says explain. Okay. So, oh, Antoine. I said Antoinette. This is just Antoine. Sorry, guys. So Antoine's rate of change, I'm just going to put ROC from now on, is 62 miles per hour. And explain my reasoning. So I found the change in speed. The change in miles, and divided it by the change in hours to get his speed, right? So all I did was I took the math I did, right? I found 314 minus 128, right? That's a change. Or you could say the difference. I found the difference in these numbers represent miles. So I found the difference in his miles, right? 186. And then I divided it by the difference in the hours. So you're just taking the math you did and turning it into the words that make sense, because you can't just say, I did 186 minus 3, because I don't know what you're talking about. That's not explaining anything. So when it says explain, you need to turn the math into words. Turn your numbers into words that make sense for the situation, okay? Next up is your exit ticket. Please take your time. Show some work on paper. Don't do these in your head. I'm not sure if there's a redo, so take your time. Do your best.